You know that specific feeling, that notification pit in your stomach.
Oh, I know it so well. It's the split second you wake up and check your phone.
Right.
You see the red badge, and your brain just immediately spirals into a panic.
Exactly like you think, did I say something? Did I tweet the wrong thing 5 years ago?
Is today the day the internet finally decides I'm the villain?
It really is the era of the public sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world that demands immediate justice, usually in the form of a career-ending screenshot.
Yeah. And it rarely offers a path back. It's a system completely designed to destroy or deny.
You only have two options, right? Hide or fight. But the teaching we're looking at today suggests there's a third option. Stay with us, because this changes how you see everything.
You are listening to Kingdom Conversations, the Upside Down Revolution.
And this episode is Cancel Culture versus Kingdom Justice.
So we're looking at some really fascinating material today.
We are. We have Pastor Florin's sermon notes from his Kingdom series, focusing on what he calls merciful justice.
Plus, some recent local community data to ground this in reality.
And the map for this conversation is pretty straightforward. First, we're going to look at the math of forgiveness.
And spoiler alert, the numbers do not add up the way you think they do.
Then we're going to tackle the justice trap, why getting exactly what you think you want might actually destroy you.
And finally, the third way. How do we hold people accountable without dehumanizing them? Because that's the needle everyone is trying to thread right now.
It really is. So let's just start with the modern justice trap. When you look at what he's seeing in the community data, it paints a pretty bleak picture of our social health.
It's honestly startling. You can feel the tension in the raw feedback.
Yeah, on one side you have this intense anxiety about being canceled or judged, so people are just isolating.
They're hiding. The data highlighted a massive spike in loneliness simply because the social cost of honesty has become way too high.
It makes perfect sense. If one wrong move nukes your reputation, the safest move is to do nothing. Just stay quiet.
Exactly. So we see people swinging to the extreme of denial. They say, I did nothing wrong. You're too sensitive. Nothing to see here.
It's a defensive crouch.
Yeah.
You refuse to admit any fault because admitting fault feels like stepping onto a landmine.
But then the pendulum swings the exact opposite way, right? To total destruction.
Right. You messed up. You are dead to me. You are irredeemable.
It's a completely binary choice. You either pretend you're perfect or you get taken out. There is no middle ground for saying, hey, I messed up, I'm working on it, and I'm still valuable.
And here's the thing, though, and I want to push on this a bit because I think we're all guilty of it.
Oh, definitely.
Justice feels really good when I'm the one holding the gavel.
It feels righteous.
It does. It feels righteous to look at someone who messed up and say, that's it, you're done. Why do we love that so much?
I think it's control.
Yeah.
And it's a way of distancing ourselves from the mess. If I can condemn you, it implies I'm not like you.
We love the gavel because it makes us feel safe.
Mm.
It draws a line that says, I am good and you are bad.
But the question this exploration poses based on Pastor Florin's teaching is, what happens when the gavel is pointed at us?
Because eventually, it always is. Nobody is perfect forever.
That is the terrifying reality. And Pastor Florin tackles this head on in his message on merciful justice.
He uses a story, a parable from Matthew 18 that a lot of people think they know.
But when you actually get into the historical context and the economics of the first century, the math completely changes the meaning.
This is the parable of the unmerciful servant.
Right. So walk us through the numbers here, because usually when I hear this story, I imagine a guy owing a significant but manageable amount of money.
Like a car loan or something.
Yeah, maybe a failed small business loan.
Yeah.
A lot, but something you could eventually pay off if you hustled.
That's how we usually sanitize it. So the story opens with a king wanting to settle accounts, and a servant is brought in who owes him 10,000 talents.
Okay, so what is a talent in this context?
Pastor Florin's research highlights exactly what a talent was worth. This isn't just a heavy coin. One talent was roughly equal to 6,000 denaries.
And a denarius was what, a day's wage?
Exactly. A standard day's wage for a laborer. So one talent is roughly 20 years of wages.
Wait, one talent is 20 years of salary.
Yes. And this guy owed 10,000 of them.
Let me just do some quick mental math here. That is 200,000 years of labor.
Roughly, yeah. Pastor Florin converts it to modern currency to make it visceral. If you take a median income and do the multiplication, this servant owes the king somewhere in the ballpark of $3 billion.
$3 billion. That's not a debt. That's a national deficit. How does a servant even accrue that much debt?
That's exactly the point. It's absurd. It's hyperbole on purpose.
So this isn't a guy who made some bad stock picks.
No, this implies embezzlement on a massive imperial scale. It changes the entire texture of the story. This is a situation of total, absolute hopelessness.
Right, because there is no payment plan for $3 billion. There's no I'll pick up extra shifts solution. You can't Uber your way out of a $3 billion hole.
You really can't. And when you read the text with that number in mind, the servant's reaction becomes almost tragicomical.
What does he do?
He falls on his knees and says, "Be patient with me and I will pay back everything."
Which is completely delusional.
It is so delusional.
Yes.
He thinks he can hustle his way out of a $3 billion hole. And this is the first key insight here. We are often delusional about our own standing.
We think I'll fix it. I'll be better next time.
But Pastor Florin's sermon notes argue that our moral debt, the ways we've hurt others, failed ourselves, or missed the mark, is astronomical. It's beyond our ability to just fix.
So the king looks at this guy who is clearly lying to himself about his ability to pay. And here is the kingdom twist.
He doesn't set up a payment plan.
He doesn't garnish his wages for the next 200,000 years.
No, he cancels the debt. He just lets him go.
Now we have to stop there for a second, because I think we completely gloss over the economics of forgiveness.
Oh, totally.
If the king cancels $3 billion, that money doesn't just vanish into thin air. It's a massive loss on the balance sheet.
That is the crucial point. The king eats the debt. And the king effectively says, I will become $3 billion poorer so that you can go free.
Forgiveness isn't just saying, oh, it's okay. It is absorbing the cost of the wrong.
He chooses mercy over his right to justice. And the servant walks out of the throne room free, weightless. His life is given back to him.
And this is where the story takes a turn that, quite frankly, makes you want to throw something at the wall.
It's the chokehold moment.
Right. So this guy, fresh off a $3 billion pardon, goes out and finds a fellow servant who owes him money.
The text says he finds a guy who owes him 100 denarii.
Now we need the conversion on that, too.
Yeah.
Is this guy choking someone over $5?
No, and Pastor Florin's notes are really helpful here because he clarifies that this second debt was real. It wasn't insignificant.
Okay, so how much is it?
100 denarii is about 100 days of wages. That's a third of a year's salary. Let's call it maybe $15,000 in today's terms.
Okay, hold on. To be fair to the guy, if someone owed me 15 grand, I'd be stressed about it. That's a car. That's a down payment. That affects my actual life.
Absolutely. The debt was legitimate. The wrong was real. But you have to look at the scale. 3 billion versus 15,000.
The ratio is just insane.
And yet what does this servant do? He doesn't just ask for the money. The text says he grabbed him and began to choke him.
Pay back what you owe me.
It's visceral. It's violent. And this right here is the definition of our modern cancel culture impulse.
Connect those dots for me. How is the chokehold connected to cancel culture?
Because we consume mercy for ourselves. We have all these complex excuses for our own $3 billion debts. Our mistakes, our bad days, the times we hurt people.
We say, oh, I was under stress, or I didn't really mean it.
Exactly. Or I'm evolving. But when we see someone who owes us 100 denarii, someone who tweeted something offensive, or a coworker who dropped the ball, we don't offer complexity. We grab them by the throat.
We judge ourselves by our intentions, but we judge others by their actions.
Precisely. And we demand immediate execution of justice. We want the payout right now.
Okay, can I be honest for a second?
Please do.
I feel this tension so much. I literally feel this in traffic every single morning.
Oh, traffic is the worst for this.
If I cut someone off, I want a wave of grace. Oops, sorry, I didn't see you in my blind spot. My bad.
Right. You want mercy.
But if someone cuts me off, I don't want an apology. I want a police officer to materialize out of thin air and ticket them immediately. I want the gavel. I want them to feel the absolute weight of their error.
We all do. It's human nature to want to be the judge.
Yeah.
But this is where the upside-down revolution kicks in.
The kingdom doesn't operate on fairness.
If it operated on fairness, the first servant would be imprisoned for 200,000 years. The kingdom operates on a flow of mercy. And the rule is that the flow must continue moving. If you stop the flow, if you hoard the mercy for yourself and refuse to pass it on, you become the villain of the story.
The king actually throws the first servant in jail at the end, not because of the original debt, but because he broke the flow.
So let's define this kingdom justice then, because I can hear someone listening saying, okay, so we just let everything slide. We just become doormats. Does truth even matter?
Because the 15 grand was real money. The coworker really did mess up. The tweet was actually hurtful.
That is the crucial question, and Pastor Florin is very clear in his teaching on this. Kingdom justice is not sweeping truth under the rug.
It's not pretending the wrong didn't happen.
No, the second debt was real, the offense happened. Kingdom justice isn't gaslighting yourself into thinking everything is fine.
So what was the servant's actual sin then?
The sin wasn't that he wanted his money back. The sin was his method. He acted as judge, jury, and executioner immediately after being pardoned a life sentence.
So it's a distinction of posture.
Exactly. Kingdom justice is truth plus mercy. Truth says this is wrong. You owe this. This hurt me.
And mercy says?
Mercy says, I will not destroy you to get it. I will aim for restoration, not humiliation.
Restoration, not humiliation. I really like that. But we have to navigate some incredibly tricky waters here, because when we talk about forgiveness, it is often weaponized.
Oh, absolutely. It can be used to silence people entirely.
You know the drill. You have to forgive me, so you have to let me back in your life. Or you have to trust me again because I apologized.
And we know people listening might have situations involving abuse, deep toxicity, or just profound betrayal.
And this is where we need a major flashing red safety guardrail. Pastor Florin actually includes a specific warning in his Kingdom series on this. He explicitly says abuse is not okay.
Say that again just so we're completely clear.
Abuse is not okay. We have to distinguish between forgiveness and trust. These are two very different buckets.
Unpack that difference for us.
Forgiveness is a past tense transaction. It is giving up your right to exact revenge. It is giving up the right to grab them by the throat.
It's a release between you and God. You are letting go of the bitterness.
Exactly. But trust is future tense. Trust is rebuilt over time.
So you can forgive someone and still not trust them at all.
100%. Forgiveness is free, but trust is earned.
You know, I have a friend, let's just call her Sarah. She had a boss who was incredibly toxic, demeaning, manipulative, the work sort.
A really bad situation.
Yeah, and when Sarah started engaging with this idea of kingdom justice, she realized she was holding on to this massive ball of rage. She wanted to see this boss fail. She wanted public humiliation for him.
She wanted the throat grab. She wanted the validation.
She really did.
Yeah.
So she chose to forgive. She released that demand for revenge. She prayed for him, which was excruciatingly hard for her. But, and this is key, she still quit the job.
She left.
She left. She set a hard boundary. She released the debt, but she didn't lend him any more money.
That is such a great way to put it. You can tear up the IOU without handing them your wallet again.
Exactly. Boundaries are completely consistent with mercy. In fact, sometimes the most merciful thing you can do for someone is to set a boundary so they can't keep sinning against you.
Kingdom justice protects the vulnerable. It does not enable the abuser.
That is such a helpful distinction, because I think people feel like if they set a boundary, they're being unforgiving, but actually they're just being wise.
Wisdom and mercy are sisters, not enemies.
So we've got the math, the 3 billion versus the 15 grand. We've got the guardrails, but let's bring this down to the ground level. We promised a practical framework.
How do we actually do this? When I'm staring at that rude comment online or my spouse says that thing that triggers me, what do I actually do in the heat of the moment?
The framework that emerges from Pastor Florin's research is incredibly simple. Discern, don't sentence.
Discern, don't sentence. What does that actually look like?
Discernment is identifying the wrong. It's looking at the situation and saying, this hurt, this was unfair, that statement was untrue. You're completely allowed to judge the action.
Okay, so I can say that was a lie.
Yes. Sentencing, however, is when you move from judging the action to condemning the person's soul or identity. You say, you are a monster. You are an idiot. You are trash.
That is sentence.
That is taking the place of the king.
Yeah.
Before we choke someone over their small debt, we have to look at our own massive plank right. There's that text in Matthew 7 about checking the plank in your own eye before pointing out the speck in someone else's.
So discernment is you cut me off in traffic and that was incredibly dangerous. Sentencing is you are a worthless human being who shouldn't be allowed on the road.
Precisely. And in the heat of the moment, that gap is very small. We cross it in a microsecond.
Do we have some real-life scripts for this? I love when we have scripts. What does discern, don't sentence sound like in a living room?
Let's try a family scenario.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a spouse or a parent. The debt is real. Maybe they forgot something important or spoke harshly. Instead of the silent treatment or an explosion, which both forms of punishment, try saying this. I'm hurt by what happened, and I need a minute to process so I don't say something I can't take back.
Oh, that's good. It acknowledges the debt by saying, I'm hurt, but it refuses the throat grab. It creates a gap.
Right. It stops
Okay.
the escalation. And here's one for the online world or maybe a heated community debate. Pastor Florin has this great advice in his notes. He says, make them think and let them ask.
How does that work in practice?
Instead of a public takedown or a quote tweet dunk, you just ask a question. Try saying, that's a really strong stance. What led you to that conclusion?
That is so disarming.
It forces the person to explain their why rather than you just attacking their what. It treats them like a human, not a target. It's surprisingly powerful because it shifts the dynamic from a fight to a conversation.
It reminds me of that ancient text in James that says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, which is basically the exact opposite of the internet algorithm.
It really is. The algorithm wants you quick to speak and quick to anger. Kingdom justice is countercultural. It slows everything down.
And we see this need for slowing down everywhere. We talked about traffic, but think about the reply all war at work.
Oh, the absolute worst.
Someone makes a mistake on an email chain. The temptation is to hit reply all and correct them publicly. Why do we do that? We could just email them privately.
We do it because we want the audience. We want the public sentencing. We want everyone to know that we are right and they are wrong. It's the throat grab in digital form.
Or think about the silent dinner at home. You're mad about a forgotten chore, which is real, the debt is real, but instead of addressing it, you turn the dining room into a courtroom where the other person is on trial but doesn't even know the charges.
It creates an atmosphere of judgment rather than grace. There's another text in Ephesians that talks about just being kind and compassionate, forgiving each other, which sounds so simple, but it feels radical today.
And going back to what we're seeing in recent local community feedback, people are starving for a place where they don't feel judged. They are desperate for a safe space where they can be messy and not be canceled.
That's the opportunity, isn't it?
It really is. There's that famous verse in Romans that says, "It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord." Basically letting God handle the justice. If we can be people who live out this upside-down revolution, people who know how much we've been forgiven and therefore refuse to choke others over the 15 grand, we become the safest people in the room.
That draws people in. It changes the culture of a team, a family, or a neighborhood. It breaks the cycle of denial and destruction.
So before we wrap up with our practicals, just a quick look ahead. Next week, we're going even deeper into the cultural water.
Yes, episode 3 is coming up. Burnout and hustle worth is not performance.
You definitely don't want to miss that one. But for this week, we want to leave you with 3 things to try. We call this segment, Try This Week.
Action number 1 is the mirror note. This is super simple. Put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror that just says today is the day.
What does that trigger for you?
It's a reminder that we don't know how long we have and that receiving mercy today changes how we treat people today. It's a centering exercise before you walk out into the traffic and the noise. You remind yourself, I have been forgiven $3 billion today. I can handle a little traffic.
I really like that. Action number 2 is the debt cancellation prayer. This is for that person who is really annoying you right now, the one you want to grab by the throat.
Visualize them.
Yeah.
And literally say to God, God, I'm handing the bill for what they did to you. You collect it. I'm ripping up my copy.
That is a powerful image. You collect it, I'm ripping up my copy. It takes the burden of being the collection agent off your shoulder.
Exactly. Is a massive psychological and spiritual release.
And action number 3 is the unpack method. Next time you disagree with someone, ask one question to understand why they think that, rather than telling them why they are wrong.
Just one question. What led you to that conclusion? Or help me understand how you got there.
So here's the promise we started with. You don't have to carry the heavy burden of being the judge. It is exhausting to be the judge.
It is so exhausting to constantly monitor everyone else's debts. You can drop the gavel. You can pick up peace. Because the king has already covered the $3 billion. The rest, we can work that out with mercy.
Go back and listen to the series intro if you missed it, and get ready for next week where we tackle the exhaustion of hustle culture.
Thanks for exploring this with us.
See you next time.